Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello there, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Attacker 2 podcast with, of course, your hosts, myself, Laurenz Vescoli, and good old Jimmy Funnell. Jimmy, how you doing?
Absolutely fine. Excited.
Excited. Exactly, yeah. Now, as you can see, which you're probably not that used to, is we don't have a guest today because, well, we thought let's just do, just an episode of Jimmy and I, really, because it's kind of the similar news to what we've been speaking about recently. There's nothing majorly new except that Sarri left, but we already spoke about that plenty of times. It's not like that was surprising news. So we were like, we're kind of just repeating ourselves again there, which we kind of did a little bit already with Lewis and Matisse. So we were like, let's do this, probably keep it a little bit shorter as well, and then probably have a guest on again next week. But yeah, now, of course, which we usually also don't do, but now I'm around and I'm more of a YouTube guy. So I'm going to implement this. If you're new here, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the iTunes, and follow us on Spotify. We are on all of these platforms, also on Anchor, but I don't really know anyone that uses Anchor except when they click links on Twitter, which it's great for, but I still don't really understand Anchor. My bad. But yeah, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes, give us a great rating on iTunes, drop a like on this video on YouTube. That'd be greatly appreciated. And yeah, now we're really just gonna start the podcast off by, well, saying thank you to Maurizio Sarri. I think Jimmy will agree on that because he has, of course, officially left Chelsea for Juventus, which, like I say, it wasn't shocking news in the slightest, but it was still, say a month ago, I didn't expect Sarri to end up at Juventus. I wouldn't have been surprised if he left us, and I wouldn't have been surprised if we sacked him, but I didn't expect him to end up at Juventus. Like, I don't know, just didn't see that happening with him being all Napoli and stuff, and, the huge rivalry and, well, hate, you could say. But yeah, so Jimmy, I say instant reactions. It's about a week ago now, but I guess reactions to Sarri leaving to Juventus. Any sad feelings, good feelings?
I think without using those binary terms of Sarri in and Sarri out, but anyone, even those that weren't possibly in favour of him, will have acknowledged. He brought us top four finish, European trophy. Just say thank you, move on. And that's what we have to do. Of course, I was sad because I think you and I both wanted him to stay on at least for 1 year so that we can, give that Lamps time. But that's just the way it is. I can't blame him for returning to Italy. I mean, he did name, I think it was even on the official site that he did name family reasons. Understandable. And he's going to be good at Juventus. I'm pretty sure about that. And when they win the Champions League, who knows, then that will shut up a lot of people who were just saying, oh, he can't win anything. I think we just have to be grateful and move on. One thing I will say is that I hope that the only good thing out of him now at this moment, leaving the club, is maybe we can grow back together a bit more as a fan base. I hope so.
I agree. That would, of course, be good. I mean, is the fan base growing together worth the price that we're currently paying? I'm not sure. And then, obviously, you mentioned the whole family thing. I don't buy that. I mean, I know his parents, they must be old because he's already 60. And if they can't exactly be young, can they now?
80, 90 something, probably.
They've got to be between 80 and 90 somewhere.
Well, the Italians are normally known for, like in those rural areas, they can get up to 90 or 100 because of all the olive oil. So, who knows?
Just rub each other in with olive oil. No, but yeah, I mean...
It's not exactly what I meant, but... Oh, mate.
Took the words out of your mouth and twisted them in all sorts of places. No, but yeah, I mean, I get the thing with the parents and stuff, but he used to live in Naples, and now he's in Turin. So I don't know where his parents live, but it doesn't take you that much longer to get from London to Naples compared to getting from Turin to Naples, because that's just how planes work. What takes long is taking off and landing. The bit in the middle doesn't actually take that long. And if he drives from Turin to Naples, that probably takes him longer to get there than going there from London. So I'm not really sure I buy that whole story. We all know that he just was a bit annoyed with the board and a bit annoyed with the fans. and the board weren't really all that pleased with him anyway. So they were like, yeah, if Juventus want you, you just go on. And we got a bit of money for him, which not sure how we managed to do that, to be honest. But back in February, we were yeah, exactly. Because back in February, we were all convinced. Well, I say all convinced, but some of us feared and some of us hoped that he would be sacked. And now that we managed to get money rather than paying him money, which is, I guess, quite good. And of course, we are recording this on the Wednesday evening, on Wednesday the 18th, is it? 19th? 19th. Wednesday, the 19th of June, in the evening. As things stand, Frank Lampard has not yet been announced as the Chelsea manager. Chances are, by the time you're hearing this should go out tomorrow, so on Thursday. There is a chance, I guess, that it will be announced by then, but we're just going to record this podcast, well, just knowing that he will be announced. Whether he is announced by then or not doesn't really make a difference. Just know that he will be announced. Whether it's tomorrow, whether it's on Friday or the weekend, whatever. Doesn't really make that much of a difference. And that's obviously what we're going to talk about, because there is a lot to talk about surrounding this. Like, we've given our thoughts. Are we happy about him coming in? Are we not? Would we like someone else? Like we spoke about Ten Hag and Mourinho and whoever else we spoke about. But now that's really out the window. So let's just speak about Lampard in more detail. Who will he play? What are the loanies that might come back? Which are the younger players that he might use formation-wise? The backroom staff, because there's obviously a lot of talk going on, which kind of former players that could be coming in as well. So let's talk about that. Frank Lampard, obviously, I say 99.9% of a chance that he's bringing Jody Morris with him, obviously as his assistant. Was his assistant at Derby County, used to be our youth coach, obviously at the academy. And so Jimmy, what we saying? Lampard, Jody Morris, you happy? And what do you expect from them? Not as in performance-wise, but just what you expect to bring.
Well, first of all, just to say, maybe this will be already announced then tomorrow. It's Lamps' birthday tomorrow. I mean, that will be a pretty great introduction. Hey, happy birthday to a club legend. Oh, yeah, and he's our new manager. Like, you never know. It could happen.
Yeah,
and maybe we'll already hear quite a bit of the backroom staff that comes with him. I mean, Jody Morris, as you just said, pretty much a given. I can't imagine that he doesn't bring Jody Morris with him. Both know the club in and out. Maybe Jody Morris even a bit more because he's had to do with the manager or coaching structure at the club. Or at least, personally to do without being a player.
And more recently as well.
More recently, exactly. Even if it's at youth level and the academy. So I think the two have already worked together pretty well. Jody Morris wrote a tweet out at the end of after Derby got defeated in the final championship playoff final. Whatever happens, him and Lamps. So I think those two are a really good team and they work together really well. If it's like Jose Mourinho, Steve Holland level, I don't know. But, the coach and assistant coach, they have a good chemistry going there. So I hope they can, reproduce that chemistry at Chelsea. I wouldn't know why they wouldn't. So that's good. I mean, the interesting names that did come up next to the obvious one of Morris was Didier Drogba and Claude Makelele. I actually don't think that Drogba is coming back. Him being a striker coach or striking coach, we already spoke about this before the video, that seems a bit iffy. I mean, we have had striking coaches, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know. I think it's just name dropping. I think Claude Makelele could really come in as that technical director, not technical director, something with the loanee system, something technical.
Basically just being in charge of all the loanees. I guess somewhat what
Eddie Newton
is now to an extent in charge as well. Not fully in charge of it, but he's part of that whole structure of the loanee structure, Paulo Ferreira. Don't think he's going to be going anywhere. He's been here for God knows how many years. But yeah, it seems like Makelele could be joining that role while still being an ambassador for his previous club where he was working, which is quite interesting. But yeah, the Drogba thing is obviously interesting. Me personally, I've never heard of a particular strikers coach. Like, there might be, part of the coaching staff that obviously work on like hitting a ball, movement as a striker. But are they a striker coach? I don't really know. Never heard that used that way. That doesn't mean we can't invent it.
If any club could need a striking coach, like Didier Drogba, then it's bloody Chelsea.
We should have brought him bloody sooner when we had Torres round.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, oh my God, yeah. Blimey. Well, actually, was it? He
they
was
were here
around when
together.
they were here together. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, one thing that we have to keep in mind, if Makalele comes in, what happens to Eddie Newton? Does he stay there? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he's the head guy in the low knee department at the moment. So what happens to him? Does he get moved somewhere else? Does he work together with Makalele? Is Makalele then like a level below him? Very interesting times. There's so many names coming, or people coming back to the club. A lot of reshuffling.
It is interesting. I mean, chances are they're probably like Eddie Newton will stay maybe in a slightly different role, maybe in the exact same role. Like I say, Paulo Ferreira works in the loan structure as well, and Eddie Newton is still there, so maybe that will be the same with Makelele. I'm not 100% sure. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. There was also talk about Shay Given, obviously, who was also assistant coach with Frank Lampard at Derby County. There was reports that he might be coming to Chelsea as the goalkeeping coach as well. I mean, he was a decent keeper. He was never the greatest keeper, but you don't necessarily have to be the greatest keeper to be a great goalkeeper coach, or don't have to be a great player to be a great coach. The one thing doesn't exclude the other. We've never heard of the previous goalkeeper. Like, Ed, have you heard of Spinelli, the one that we had on a Conte? Have you ever heard of him before he was at Chelsea? Yeah.
Oh no, not before Chelsea. Of course, when he did
exactly.
come to Chelsea.
That's the point. Though. When it's Shay Given, it's just because we know him as a not so great goalkeeper. Why is that worse than someone we've never heard of anyway?
Laurenz, I mean, I know you're on my opinion here. Why don't we just give it back to Christopher Lolicon? He was a brilliant goalkeeping coach, one of the best we've ever had, I'd say, arguably. We've got him. What happened to him wasn't nice with Courtois. Reinstate him. Why do we need Shay Given? We don't need him. Thank you. Bye bye. Bring in Lolicon again. He deserves it.
I agree.
World class.
I mean, if he still wants that job, I don't know for sure. I mean, he obviously got all those, not the youngest anymore. If he still wants to work full time as the goalkeeping coach, I think that should certainly be considered because, I mean, Frank, like Lampard clearly knows him already. Jody Morris clearly knows him already. So it's not like there will be like a completely new thing out of the blue. Exactly. Yes, they worked with Shay Given for a year now, but, still, I'd certainly back Christophe Lonichon over Shay Given as a goalkeeping coach. The other things, obviously, that we should mention, I guess, are part of the coaching staff from the past season now that worked under Maurizio Sarri, including Gianfranco Zola, of course, club legend, also Carlo Cudicini, he's a club legend, maybe not a legend, a club great, let's say that.
Club great, yeah.
Yeah, obviously he served as well, especially until Petr Cech came, and now he's been around at the club for quite a while now as well, because he was here with Conte already and then stayed around under Sarri. And obviously, there's quite a lot of talk about Zola probably losing his job, just like leaving with Sarri, I guess. Not to Juventus, but just leaving Chelsea. He was asked in an interview and he didn't know, like, at the time. Obviously, that is it's like 10 days or so ago now. I mean, reportedly, he was only brought in to be like an intermediate between Sarri and the squad as a translator to an extent, as just helping out with the Italian and English mentalities, I guess, to an extent. It's not like they were ever particularly close, but they seem to get on very well. They seem to agree on their footballing ideas quite a lot. And I mean, Lampard knows Zola. Zola knows Lampard, so he could stay around. Probably not as an assistant coach. I didn't ever think he was a particularly great assistant coach. Not that I know what he did, but he's a great manager. So why should he be a great assistant coach? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I wouldn't mind having him around, but it doesn't really matter to me, to be honest.
But Laurenz, I mean, one can't really to 100% compare what you have to do as a coach as in a position to an assistant coach, because I mean, of course, he hasn't got all the weight on his shoulders as an assistant coach. He's being told what certain areas he has to cover, and I agree with you. We don't know exactly how good he was. We only hear some tidbits here and there from players. But I can remember seeing him quite a few times, talking to, for example, Hudson-Odoi after a game or, before coming on, just maybe giving him feedback. Because I can remember actually reading Hudson-Odoi talking about that once, where he just basically says, Zola, he always gave him like feedback, what he can do better, what he just, noticed. I think Zola is brilliant in that role, but as an assistant coach, I think he's not tough enough. He's just too nice guy. He doesn't have like this, okay, shit, we've done something wrong. We should, pull ourselves together kind of vibe to him, which I think Jody Morris has.
Even though they're both
back
about
as a
4 foot
player.
tall.
You what?
Even though they're both about 4 foot tall. So one is certainly more intimidating than the other one. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, no one's forcing any club to only have one assistant coach. And Mourinho, we had two with Rui Faria and Steve Holland. So in theory, we could still just have both. To my knowledge, Shea Given was
worked
actually
well.
To my knowledge, Shea Given was actually an assistant coach to Lampard, not just the goalkeeping coach at Derby. So maybe he's somewhat used to that as well. I don't know. And then obviously you have Carlo Cudicini. I mean, I haven't heard anything whether he will leave or whether he will stay. But the fact that he was there under Conte and under Sarri makes me think that he'll probably still be around anyway. Because if he was here under both of them, yes, I know he's Italian and they both were Italian. Obviously, Lampard isn't. But I'm like, if he, was here under both, why should he out of nowhere leave now? I don't think the struggles that we've had over the last 2 seasons, to an extent, even though last season, was a pretty decent season with a poor 2 months in the middle. I don't think any of those issues are to do with Carlo Cudicini. So I don't see the point in him necessarily leaving. But it could happen. What effect that will have, we don't know for sure. But there is obviously going to be some serious changes within the backroom staff. Most of the backroom staff that was working on the Maurizio Sarri will leave, has left, whatever. Some of them will have to be paid compensation because I think some contracts were still running, but most of them were only for 1 year of the backroom staff. So we don't have to pay any compensations for that, unlike for Conte's backroom staff the season before. But yeah, I mean, that is obviously who's going to come in. But what is arguably a lot more interesting than that is what are we going to see under Frank Lampard? Because, we had pragmatic football for years and years. Mourinho, Conte, even Gus Hiddink in the middle wasn't exactly, free-flowing attacking football. Yeah. He's a funny guy. But yeah, we had that.
Sorry. Oh, God, that was atrocious. I hated that half of the season. God.
Yeah. That 1-0 defeat at Swansea was arguably the worst game of football I've ever seen in my life.
But, the players always said afterwards the same thing, they had studied it by heart, what Goose Hiddink told them, doctrinated. That was so hilarious. Even though it was sad, that whole season was absolutely something that you want to strike from the history books. But God, I hope we never get Goose Hiddink back again. Oh my God!
It's the greatest win record of all Chelsea managers. Sod on. But yeah, obviously we have had a lot of pragmatic football, and then out of nowhere. I say out of nowhere, kind of out of nowhere, actually. Last summer, we changed to Maurizio Sarri. And we were like, oh, this is great. We're trying something new. Well, that lasted for about a full year. And now we're here with another new manager. Well, we haven't appointed him yet, as we are recording this, but it's going to be Frank Lampard. So what do we expect from him? Because, as so many people had so much to talk about Maurizio Sarri, even though they only knew him at Napoli, no one, 99% had no clue what he did at Empoli, let alone what he did before that. It's just that, he didn't win anything at Napoli. He must be horrible then. Yeah. How about you look at the Juventus squad first? But yeah, there's not much of doing that with Frank Lampard because he's only had one bloody season. And that was in a championship. So I know he's a club legend, but how that is okay and good enough, but Sarri wasn't good enough when they came in, I will never understand.
He knows the club, Laurenz. He knows the club. He must be good. And he was a club legend. He's our greatest goal scorer. How come people be so dense that they don't understand that doesn't equate to him being a good manager? Yeah. I mean, I don't want to overgeneralize because there are a lot of people that want him in, but I understand. I wouldn't normally think this way if it was anyone else. Ole Solskjaer coming to Chelsea, for example. We'd criticize that decision, but it's Frank. Are you excited? I mean, I'm still excited. Why am I excited? It's ridiculous.
I watched a short YouTube video yesterday of Frank Lampard's 09-10 season with his 22 goals and 16 assists or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he's going to be a manager now. It's a bit mad that. And it is. And I am to an extent excited, but like we've obviously spoken about before, it's like at this point, Sarri has left. We don't really have a better option. It's not like we're going to get the top echelon of managers. We're not going to get Guardiola, a Klopp, and Allegri. I mean, Allegri's taking the year out anyway, but we wouldn't have got him even if we tried. Not that I would have wanted him, but even if we would have tried, we would not have gotten him. Or whoever else are classed as the best managers, Zidane or whatever. We wouldn't have gotten those. And then if you look at the options that were available to us, Frank Lampard, with knowing the club, because it does make a difference to an extent, and having a pretty good first season at Derby County, and especially the youth thing, obviously that makes a difference, is the best option we have. But what do we expect from him now? Of course, like I say, the Championship, how well can you compare it to the Premier League? Probably not that much, actually, especially if you look at the squad Derby had. It's not anywhere near like a squad that Chelsea have. It's a completely different type of squad. It was an old squad that he had to make younger. I guess we somewhat have that at Chelsea, but our squad isn't that old. We just have a lot of bad players that are a little bit old. But yeah, so we have that. But what do you expect from him? Like, how many, say, loanees do you think he will actually, like, players that were out on loan last season, do you think he will integrate into the first team squad? Do you think he will change the formation? What do you expect from him, really?
Yeah, but Laurenz, this is a really good question, because I think everyone expects him. Oh well, he played Mason Mount and Fikeo Tomori last season, and I think he played Wilson, who's also a very young player. He gave them chances at Derby. Oh, he's bound to do it at Chelsea. Can't wait for him to play all the youth. Is he really going to do that? How often have we had the manager who employed? Okay, the last 3 managers haven't been that good of examples, but Andre Villas-Boas, for example, Carlo Ancelotti wasn't a good example. All right, we haven't had that many managers that really did that. But in theory, who says that Frank Lampard is going to do that? Only because he did it at Derby. I'm sure that some of the coaches we have had in the past will have done it at other clubs, but this is a completely different situation at Chelsea. And even if Lampard's gotten, concessions, you will get time. I don't know. I really hope that he'll just do the same or continue what Maurizio Sarri did. Room Loftus-Cheek, as soon as he's back, he plays. As soon as Hudson-Odoi is back, he plays. Mason Mount, now that's a big question. I think I'm really interested to hear your opinion on that in a bit. But I don't know if he's going to play. I can't imagine. I think it would be good if if Grealish gets sold by Villa, put him on loan there, for example. I don't know. It's difficult, but formation-wise, we've spoken about this briefly before. 4-3-3 is what he's been playing, right?
Yeah, for the most part, anyway. For
the most part, so that would make sense, us continuing to play 4-3-3, because generally I love the formation 4-3-3. It gives you so much versatility and options to attack and go forward. But there are a huge amount of Chelsea fans, especially on Twitter, that want us to go 4-2-3-1. I wouldn't be opposed to that, even though Mourinho really made me hate that formation near the end of his tenure. But it's more pragmatic, right? I don't know. Maybe he will use it because we have injuries. We can't buy anyone. We're limited in who we can use. Aging squad. Don't know. So it's really hard to see what he will do. Even if it is 4-3-3, let's say, we do 4-3-3. The only real viable options from the youth, Hudson-Odoi, Loftus-Cheek, Mason Mount, Reece James. Who else? There's no. I mean, the third goalkeeper is going to have to be a youth player because Rob Green's gone. Marcin Bulka is going to go to PSG, it seems. Brad Collins has been released, and Nathan Baxter today has been loaned out to Ross County. So
Jamal Blackman is still around.
He's injured. He's been injured since Christmas. I don't know if he's already back.
I know, but still around.
I mean, he's 25 years old. He's gotten a bit of experience. I think it wasn't that bad at Leeds.
No.
I don't know. Probably it will be him or Jason Cummings. I think it's Jason or James Cumming from the youth squad. Jamie, okay, Cumming anyway.
Yeah, Cumming.
So yeah, I don't know. It's difficult. People
the other one, if you class him as a youth player, maybe not youth player, but loanee anyway, is probably Kurt Zouma. He's another one that I'm dead expecting to be part of the squad. Whether he will be a starter or not, I don't know, but he will certainly be part of the squad, I expect.
I was only talking about youth players now. I mean, he's only 24, right? So it's ridiculous. I think Rudiger's like already 30, while Zouma and him are nearly the same age.
Not 30.
No, I know he isn't. I know he's 25, isn't he? So It's just ridiculous because I think in my mind, Kurt Zuma's so much younger than Antonio Rudiger, although he isn't, which is mind blowing. I don't know, it's ridiculous. I can't quite wrap my head around that. But I want to ask you, whether Lamps does it or not, Kurt Zuma, Antonio Rudiger, will that be your starting centre back pair next season?
Well, it depends on how we play. If we want to keep playing it out from the back, David Luiz has to stop. I know you disagree, but to me, if we want to play out from the back, none of Rudiger, Christensen, or Kurt Zuma anywhere near have the ability that David Luiz has at doing that. And I think if we try that without him, we're screwed. And I mean, we're going into this season screwed as we are. But if we try to play out from the back without Luiz, I mean, we're even more screwed.
I agree with that. No, but I agree with that. To be fair, you weren't on the podcast when we talked about that, but I did actually confess, if we are playing with Sarri's 4-3-3, where expansive football, we need him theoretically to do that pass up front, which brought us out of trouble so often last season, even if he does the occasional brain fart. That's why 4-2-3. Maybe that's why people want 4-2-3-1, Laurenz, because then we can drop Luiz.
Well, I don't want 4-2-3-1. To me, people that want 4-2-3-1 feel like people that have been kind of stuck in the past, just like Mourinho has. Like, it's kind of like, I'm sorry, who plays 4-2-3-1 these days? Tell me one successful team that plays that. Exactly. You don't play 4-2-3-1 anymore. It's just not the thing. Like, are we going to play 4-4-2 now because in the 60s it won everything? No. So we like no.
Oi! Leicester won the title with that a few seasons ago.
Fair enough. Well, that was more of a 4-4-1-1. All right.
Okay. Now, that's a bit just semantics.
Of course, I'm taking the piss. But that was a ridiculous season. That just doesn't happen. Yeah, shouldn't happen. I get your point. I'm not saying anyone's stupid for wanting to play 4-2-3-1. Me personally, I just don't think it's the right thing to do to help us move forward. Like, then it really would be what we spoke about with Lewis, a complete waste of a season then last season, because we taught these players to like play with the ball at their feet, play in like tight spaces and move the ball around and move up the pitch as quickly as possible, which we never actually managed to do as quickly as we would have liked.
It's true.
Towards the end, it got better and better. But that's why I wanted Sarri to give Sarri more time, because I think even with the transfer ban, we could have been a ridiculously good team next season, just with more time learning that system. But anyway, I just don't think you can play that way in a 4-2-3-1 because you just don't have the triangles. And without the triangles, you don't have the triangles where you need them. And then you just put yourself into trouble. And if Lampard or Morris or whoever ends up being in charge of that manages to get out of Zuma, Rudiger, and Christensen something like what Luiz can do, I don't care which one of the three it is that plays. I'm not really all that fussed. Any one of the three.
Christensen can do it in theory. He's got a good passing range, but he was shocking at the end of the season again, the second season in a row.
I don't just mean the long passing range, though. I mean being under pressure on the ball.
Yeah, but Christensen can do that, don't you think?
I just feel like whenever he's being pressed, he's not as calm as Luiz is to just keep the ball, play it simply, and then we just keep the ball, no stress. Everyone but Luiz always seems stressed when they're pressed. And Luiz just like, he makes a little turn and a little back heel pass to someone. And unlike Hazard's back heels, Luiz's back heels actually come off. So no offense, Hazard. Good luck in Madrid. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So yeah, like if it works, I have no issue with anything. But depending on what we try, it probably should be David Luiz. I would love to see Kazuma because simply of how he managed to be forced out of the club with that horrible injury and then just not being up to scratch when he came back. I would love to get him. I would love to see him get given that chance to be a starter again and then hopefully cement this place. Whether that's then alongside Rudiger or Christensen, probably better to be alongside Christensen so you have two different types of centre-backs because Rudiger and Kazuma are kind of the same. They're both really quick and they're both really strong and they both jump like crazy, but
oh my God,
traditionally not that good.
Laurenz, I just solved all our problems. Ethan Lampard. He can pass it. He can do those passes. He showed it for Wales. Brilliant. We're done. No problem.
With Wales, who haven't won a game in 8 games. Yeah.
You're breaking my balls here. No, I know that, that, but he has got a good passing range. No, he's really good at that.
He's only 6 foot. I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
Fabio Cannavaro was short. He got the Ballon d'Or.
true. Very true, but Amperu's not quite Cannavaro though, is he? No
Not
offense.
yet, but he's 18 years old, or is he 19 already? Whatever.
Yeah,
Guy's so young, he's
Yeah.
ridiculously young and so mature. If there's anyone in that team that can succeed, Luis, during this transfer ban, I'm sure we can get much better already developed ball playing centre backs, but he's the only one at the moment, and the club who can also, and that is something he can do it under pressure.
Yeah.
That
At the
lad
same
can do it
time, we
under
haven't
pressure.
really seen him play in big pressure games yet. Even for Wales, those weren't exactly big pressure games. So we're yet to see if he played against Spurs at the Bridge, and I don't know, we're 1-0 up, but we're in injury time, and he's in a pressure situation. Can he keep his cool then? And there's no problem if he can't because he's 18. But I personally wouldn't pick him over any of Zuma, Rudiger, or Christensen. I wouldn't.
No.
And I wouldn't pick him over Louise either.
Now that's where.
Really? Over Louise?
No. Look, it's just the
Louise
brain
is a
farts
good
that
centre
turn me
back.
off.
Like, to me, Louise is a great centre back. He has a brain fart now and again, but who doesn't?
Now and
Sergio
again.
Ramos has bloody brain farts. When was the last David Luiz brain fart this season? Like, been months. Long months.
No, he only because they didn't lead to a goal. The thing is, when Lewis starts losing his head, and he does a brain fart, it starts to accumulate in that game, and then there's like a period of 10 minutes where you're thinking, what the fuck is he actually doing? And I'm sorry, I'm really bad in that regard. I can't think of an example, but I can remember thinking it continually throughout the season. And there was one goal which was completely on him where he, just didn't put his body on the line. We can say whatever we want about Gary Cahill, and I was always really pissed off about his backing off. But he put his body on the line. He went bam in like John Terry. David Luiz doesn't do that. He goes.
Yeah, but Ricky Carvalho didn't do that, and John Terry next to him did it. So you need one that does and one that doesn't.
Ricardo Carvalho didn't have brain farts. He'd never had.
No, he didn't have brain farts. That's true. But to me, David Luiz, as much as he has these brain farts and these like games of where he just goes mad and just goes for everything, when he just leaves gaps behind him, he's the only one because that's always when we're losing. Everyone else just doing the normal thing, and David Luiz is like, fucking hell, guys, let's do something for once.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
That comes into it. But obviously need to keep moving because I want to address quickly what you said about Mason Mount. If we give him a Prem round, which I don't think we will, he needs a better one than Villa. He needs a mid-table one because there's no point learning to play in a team that's worse than everybody. That's like Tammy Abraham at Swansea. Learns you nothing for what Chelsea need. That's always the problem when a Prem loan is only good when they play for a team that plays a little bit like us. If they play park the bus every game, if they came back to Chelsea, they would play against teams parking the bus. It doesn't teach them anything for what they need when they play for us. For us, they need to know how to break teams down, not how to not be broken down, which is what Swansea under Tammy Abraham did. So it's a completely different type of striker that he was playing there than what he will play at Chelsea if he does play.
Yeah, but where do you loan him then, Laurenz? It can't be. It has to be outside of England.
No. We're getting a mid-table team,
Yeah, but who?
Right?
A lot of the teams are.
Bournemouth don't see.
Bournemouth's like the first. If you ask Chelsea fans, where should we loan a player? Oh, let's do it to Bournemouth. How? Why?
Because they play.
But they got Fraser there. What? Isn't he playing Mason Mount's role? If I'm not mistaken.
You mean Brooks? You mean the young kid?
Oh, was it Brooks then? Yeah, okay, then him. I can't remember. It's just a young guy who was like really dynamic, and I think he was English, who's playing there. So why would he get any minutes?
I don't know. It's just a shout. I'm just saying if we're going to learn him, I don't think we're going to.
Same
going to be mid-table team.
I know, but that's where he can still shine there, even though they're crap.
Yeah, but we're considering playing him at Chelsea, so he would get a mid-table team. He probably started at bloody Everton. Let's be honest. With
Gylfi Sigurdsson, I don't think so.
Right, maybe not, but you get the point.
Oh,
he definitely start bloody Watford. He's better than Pereira, and he's their best player. Let's be honest.
Ooh, is he better than Pereira? That's
All right.
I actually think
It's
Pereira's
not
not
my
bad.
words. Let me just say what I want to say. We're not loaning him out anyway. Let's be honest. Come on. We don't
Probably
have
not. No.
midfielders as it is. Like, we
It
can't loan
depends
him.
what happens to Loftus-Cheek. You know, how long is he going to be out? Is he going to, come back earlier?
Yeah,
Maybe
but
you
you
don't
need a
need him.
backup for Loftus-Cheek anyway, and we better not be
Barkley.
bloody Barkley.
I don't want necessarily one Barkley as the backup as well, but he's going to be it. You know it as well as I do.
But even then, like, let's count the midfielders. We have Jorginho, unless we sell him, which possibly.
I don't think that will happen, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but that depends on what Lampard plays, because when was the last time Jorginho played as a midfielder that wasn't a register? How good is he at that? Who knows? So we actually don't have to know. We actually have to find out about that yet. But anyway,
I'm
Jorginho.
excited about that, actually. Can I
Good.
just say that? I'm really excited about Jorginho playing maybe in front of Kante. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I agree. Jorginho, Kante, well, Loftus-Cheek when he's back, and Ross Barkley. Now, those are the four midfielders that we're guaranteed to have right now. And then we're talking about Danny Drinkwater, Kovacic, and Mason Mount. Then there's no one else.
Or one plays Ethan Ampadu in midfield again. I know, I'm sorry I'm going on with Ethan
He's
Ampadu.
not better than Mason Mount. Come on now.
It depends on what role. If one needs one more defensive-minded... You forgot Bakayoko, sorry, because I thought defensive-minded.
True.
But in defensive-minded, Mason Mount isn't a defensive midfielder. Ethan Ampadu can be that. He can even be a box-to-box, while Mason Mount is the more attacking-minded. If he's going to play anywhere in that Chelsea midfield, it's going to be where Ross Barkley... Well, yeah, Ross Barkley or Loftus-Cheek is, if you ask me.
Yeah, but we're not playing exactly like Sarri anymore, are we? And at Lampard, it was at Derby, it wasn't as structural as in like one register, one box-to-box DM, and then the attacking one on the left. It isn't really like that. Like explicitly at Derby, like they mix around whether you're on the left or on the right doesn't really matter, because Mount came from the left, Mount came from the right of midfield. Didn't really make that much of a difference. And I know what you're saying, and I don't even disagree. I'm just saying, get rid of Drinkwater as soon as we bloody can. Like, I will drive him to the airport or train station, wherever he needs to go myself.
It's a nice blow, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
He refused to be sold because he wanted to earn the money. He's not a nice bloke. He's a money-grabbing twat. That's all he is. He could have moved plenty of times. He could have moved last summer, and he could have moved in January, and he didn't. Just like Gary Cahill.
We don't know that he wanted to say. He's on 150 grand a week. Who is going to pay that?
No, exactly. Of course, I understand.
Yeah, but what? Yeah, but which professional? Come on, which professional would take a pay cut from probably 50%? No one would. That's unfair.
If you want to play football, you do.
Yeah, but still, that's unfair to assume. No, he has to take it because he wants to play football. It's still a job.
Well, and if you're going to he goes out drinking and loses his driver's license, like,
well, he's Drinkwater. Of course, he's going to go out drinking. Oh no, okay, no, wait, no, not that kind of drinking. Sorry, I forgot about that. Yeah, forget about that.
I was like,
anyway, Bakayoko. No, Tenyo Bakayoko, right?
Yeah, who's he again? Yeah,
I think he could actually do a job here. He wasn't that bad partially for Milan. Even though people will whack me for it.
For Milan. Okay, sorry. Yeah. I thought he was going to say for Chelsea.
Well, the first 2 months when he was at Chelsea wasn't bad either. But, that Spurs game where he was still injured, he was brilliant.
Yeah. In my memory, he had 3 brilliant games. There was Atletico away in the group. Brilliant in that. United at home when we beat them, however much we beat them by, 1-0. Just with the Morata header that had the Titanic.
Yeah. November,
It was brilliant in that. And then, like you said, the Spurs game. Those 3 games was brilliant in. There was a couple he was average in, and then there was quite a few that he was shocking in. Yeah, for example. Which just, I mean, everyone has a brain fart, excuse me, game now and again. But that was just a bit of an extreme brain fart, that one. So, I don't know. He should come back, in my opinion. Will Frank Lampard use him? I don't know, but he should come back. But I still think Mason Mount should be around because I think Barkley can play fine in a not as attacking midfield role. He can do that just as much as he can play the attacking one because just like Kovacic, he can't score anyway. Like he's like one of them people that you think can shoot, but then they really can't. Weirdly, so I don't know. I would rather have Loftus-Cheek and Mount as the main two people. Like I wouldn't even be surprised if Lampard starts Ruben and Mount together, and then have Kante behind them and doesn't even play Jorginho. I wouldn't even be surprised if that happens come January.
Well, maybe. I don't think he's going to play Mount that much. That's the thing, an illusion that people think just because he played at Derby. But one thing I will say, if we do play a double pivot, if Barkley plays there, it's going to have shadows of Lampard. If you can remember that combination, that was absolutely atrocious with Ramirez and Lampard in the pivot. Oh my God. You know,
I mean, if we played a double pivot, it would almost certainly be Jorginho and Kante.
That would be a great combo. I think that would be pretty.
Lacking a lot of height, but other than that.
Oh, fucking hell. Don't start with that. Like with Alonso, get off.
Yeah, but if you play a double pivot, you need height because then you can't overcrowd anyone anymore.
Well, you can't play back. Yeah, but you can't play Bakayoko and Kante there. So.
Exactly. So that's why I said scrap the double pivot.
Maybe it will work. You know, we could have a look and see how it happens. If we've always got the ball, then it wouldn't be a problem. Also, Kante's a pretty brilliant player. He can do that anyway. He doesn't need.
He's fine. One last thing that obviously we probably should mention.
Yeah.
Is the whole Kovacic situation because obviously he was in that talk of midfielders. You know, we don't know for sure whether we will bring Bakayoko back. We might just sell him. Who knows? We might just loan him out again. We don't know for sure. And it's probably, I mean, financially it would be smart to just keep him and then just don't sign Kovacic. I know you're not the biggest fan of him, and you made a good point earlier saying, well, if we didn't have a transfer ban, no one would ask for us to sign Kovacic, and I agree. But the simple matter of fact is that we do have a transfer ban. And he's not an awful player. Like, as a right centre midfielder, I think he can be good. You know, if Kante plays deeper now, I don't think he should, but he might do. And then you have a backup for every position. He can play the deep one. He can play the right one. He can play the left one. He can play all over the shop. And if you pay 50 million for a player that can play in 3 positions, that's all right.
No, I don't agree with that. 50 mil, because we wouldn't get that anytime. We wouldn't get that back anytime soon. I agree that we have to buy him. You know, if it was 30, 35 mil, but they're not going to do us any favors after Mariner, you know, how she negotiated for Hazard. So I think that's a problem. But, you know, we do have some options there. I think we could come by. We would get by without Kovacic, if I'm honest.
Well, get by.
I don't think it's sensible paying 50 mil for him. But, you know, if it has to be, then if they do it, I'm not going to complain about it. Let's say it like that. But I'd rather have us not. Don't ask me how we cope them. I don't know. I just think Bakayoko could do a job. Yeah, I'm going to get crucified for that. But
as you should be. Now, what I'm going to say is, it's not about Bakayoko Kovacic. Just get rid of bloody Barkley.
It's not going to happen. We need homegrown players, mate.
Well, we have plenty now. If we use the youth players, then we don't need any. Then we have plenty of them. We could just get rid of Barkley and keep Kovacic. Even if we have to pay 200 million, it's worth it.
Yeah, no, I mean, where we have to get to, even though the Kovacic situation is very interesting, don't get me wrong, and it's heatedly debated, is strikers. We don't know who's going to be our main striker next season. We've not got that many choices. I'd really like to know what your preferred choice will be, because let's just say Gonzalo Higuain, he ain't staying for obvious reasons. He was brought in because of Sarri. Sarri's not here anymore. It wouldn't make any sense. So, Tammy Abraham, Michy Batshuayi, Olivier Giroud. Who?
Yeah. I mean, ideally, none of them, because I don't think any of them are actually good enough. I mean, Giroud is just a depressing sight to be the first choice striker of Chelsea, even though he did really well in the Europa League, scored a lot of goals, won the Golden Boot there, has a lovely beard and all sorts. But it is a good beard, to be fair. But
very fair.
He was still Arsenal's second, if not third choice striker when he signed him. He cannot be our first choice striker. I mean, that is too embarrassing as it is. Especially if they have Aubameyang and Lacazette. I mean, they might lose one of them, I guess. But still, the fact that they have strikers like those and we have strikers like we do is just bad. Anyway, then you, of course, have Michy Batshuayi, who endured not a great loan spell at Valencia. That didn't go well. Then in January, he moved to Palace and did all right. I feel like he didn't score that little amount of goals, but I think he scored like 2 in 2 games. So that is 4 goals. And how many did he score overall? 8. So that from January isn't actually that much. Or did he score 6? I'm not even sure. But like, he's good. He's a great finisher. Like, if we get the ball into his feet in the box, he probably score the most out of those 3 options that we have. But realistically, it just largely depends on what system Frank Lampard is going to go. If we're going to kick it long quite often, well, Michy Batshuayi is not the option. You showed me the stats earlier. His, percentage of winning aerial duels is not very good. So clearly that's not an option. If Lampard wants to keep it on the ground and only for the last 10 minutes if we need it, he wants to go for long balls and bring on Giroud then, possibly Batshuayi is actually the best choice. And Tammy Abraham is kind of just a mix of the two. Tammy Abraham is just decent and good at a lot of things, but not like incredible at many things, to me anyway. But I'm not an expert on Tammy Abraham, don't get me wrong. I've not seen that much of him. When he was at Swansea, he looked good, but that was a completely different style of football to what we're playing. Of course, Swansea ended up getting relegated and they were playing like a relegation side from the start. Is a completely different thing, playing with like really long distances to goal whenever he receives the ball. It's not going to be the situation at Chelsea. He's strongish. He wins quite a lot of balls in the air. He's tall. He's 6'3". He's really tall. Considering he's that tall, he's, like I say, quick. He's good with his feet. He's good on the ball, good dribbler, and he's got a good finish in him. So, me personally, because he's young, because he's from the academy, and because he has everything that you need to be a very good striker, even though I do think he needs to bulk up a little bit. He is probably the one, if we're going to say, so this season, no matter what happens, we're just going to bank on the youth and hope that we can develop them as much as we can until next summer. So then next summer we know these youngsters are good enough and these youngsters are not. And, by next summer, hopefully we'll then know, is Abraham good enough to keep as a first-choice striker, or do we need to buy one? And if we don't play him, we still don't know that. It's a bit like we're with Mason Mount. If we don't play him, we don't know whether we need to buy someone then next summer or not. Like, not really, because we have Loftus-Cheek there, obviously. But, or with Reece James, if we don't play him all season and have Azpilicueta there, Azpilicueta's getting on. If we don't ever play Reece James in the big games, we won't find out if we need to buy someone else or not. So, possibly go for Abraham. But at the end of the day, they're not that different in ability right now, in my opinion. Just play whoever's on best form and whoever suits the system the best. I don't really have a significant preference. At least out of Batshuayi and Abraham, I don't want Giroud to be the regular starter unless we kind of need the long balls for whatever reason.
Yeah. I think Giroud, as you say, he's a brilliant plan B, and I think he's also going to be that under Lampard. What I will say about this, as I'm currently writing on an article, stat-wise, it's very interesting to compare Batshuayi and Tammy Abraham, because if one of those two is going to be our main striker, I mean, I am going to tell you this, Laurenz, Giroud's going to start the season as our starting striker. I'm absolutely dead certain about that, and it will just be about how can the others. I don't think we're going to go with 3 strikers in. Michy Batshuayi has actually doesn't mean that much, but he put in Chelsea FC again on his Twitter account, and Tammy Abraham.
Sorry to just interrupt there quickly. I think we should go into the season with 3 strikers.
I know you do. Yeah.
If not doing that, be doing that recently, it's stupid in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I hope we do it. I hope we do it. I know you said we don't.
When was the last time? When was the last time we had 3 strikers? It's ages ago. Years.
Mourinho.
Which 3 strikers did we have? With Diego Costa and
Drogba and Remy.
Okay, fair point. Yeah, I forgot about Remy. Yeah.
And the season before we had Torres, Eto'o, and Bar.
Yeah, so that was actually the last trio that I could think of.
Not sure about the season. Obviously, when Mourinho got sacked, I guess Traore was classed as the kind of third striker, but he could also play on the wing.
I don't think he actually ever played as a striker for us. But anyway, I get what you mean. I would also keep all 3, but let's just think about this rationally. I don't think we will. Giroud's going to stay, of course. Which one of the 2 do we want? Now, what you said was that Michy Batshuayi is the one who's more clinical and all that, and I tend to agree, at least on the top level. It also depends on how how far do you let this stat comparison happen in regard to Championship versus Premier League? As we said before, there are a few stats where you can say you can compare Premier League with Championship in regard to, for example, aerial duels. If one of the strikers is going up against Championship defenders, they might be slow, might be old, whatever, but if there's one thing the Championship doesn't lack, then it's physicality in regard to the centre back. So when we think about that, Michy Batshuayi, his aerial duels percentage is atrocious, while Tammy Abraham is decent, is above average. It's not bad. He's not Olivier Giroud, but I don't think that we would want him to play that role that Giroud would be able to fill. So if we talk about his attacking play or build-up play and creativity, Tammy Abraham has been far better stat-wise. Then again, it depends how Crystal Palace actually plays. Zaha is like the main man.
Yeah.
Batshuayi just finished.
That is exactly why I don't like the Premier Championship comparison, because the build-up play is when you play the 1-2s around the corner. And that is exactly when you find it so much easier in the Championship, because players are slower, because players are not as good, because players are less so tactically aware. Like, okay, maybe if you play against the bottom 6 in the Premier League, it's not that big of a difference. But you also play against the top 6, and you don't just play against the bottom 6.
No, I understand that, but what I will say is Tammy Abraham has got the tools to do it, Championship or not. He has got the tools to actually be able to do this build-up play. Or Batshuayi, brilliant finisher. He's better than Tammy Abraham. No discussion, or more clinical. But if we want to do build-up play, Batshuayi wasn't always top-notch. Especially on the counter. He has got a great pass in him. I don't know. Tammy Abraham might be the one to bank on. As you said, if this is this season of transition, which it most certainly will be, he's the guy to play. Batshuayi, you can sell him. He's got international pedigree. I could see this club selling him. It'd be ludicrous to do it because I want also 3 strikers, but I can see that happening. So Tammy Abraham, for me, I know people don't rate him because, he's a Championship. He wasn't good at Swansea, but that Swansea team was absolutely diabolical. He had no service whatsoever. He did score a few goals. He was only,
I think he was
19
top scorer or second top goal scorer.
No, I think it was I think it was second because Ayew was the top scorer, if I'm not mistaken. But he's still got like 6 or 7 goals, something like that. I haven't looked at his Swansea stats yet, but he wasn't bad. Those Swansea fans were, frustrated with him. He was only 19 years old, for Christ's sake, or 20. You can't put all your goal hopes in the Premier League in the battle for relegation on a 19-year-old who hasn't proven himself. He's not like, I don't know, who's a 19-year-old wonder kids. One of those, Kylian Mbappe. He's not Mbappe who you can trust for that. He's Tammy Abraham, and his shots, his goal conversion, his headed goals, his touches in the box, his passing is good. If he can actually, only to a certain degree already, implement his style of play from the Championship on both occasions, and also to a certain degree from Swansea in this Chelsea team, I think with Hudson-Odoi, who actually they know each other, so that's always good, and Christian Pulisic and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, which for me personally will be my attacking bands up front. I think they could work well together. And if we need a crowbar, put on Giroud. That's why I don't see how Batshuayi would get past the second string striker role. Prove me wrong, mate. Prove me wrong. I'd rather have Batshuayi, score goals en masse, but I don't think it will happen.
I get what you mean. I mean, obviously, ideally, we're a lot less counter-attacking now than we will be under Conte. So the whole build-up play and first touch after like a pass shot basically into him. I mean, his first touch, he still needs to improve. It was a bit better at Palace, I thought, than it was back when he was at Chelsea last. It looked a bit better whenever I've seen him play.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's less counter-attacking puts slightly less importance on that, which for Batshuayi would be good. I know you said you think Giroud is going to start the season as a striker. I'm not 100% sure he will, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't sell him, if that's Batshuayi, and then pretty soon Abraham
also possibly. Yeah, you're right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what what I want about, because if the problems that we had at that Tammy Abraham had at Swansea, and like just putting too much pressure on him, because you say you can't put all your hopes in a relegation fight to score all your goals, on a 19-year-old. Well, now he's 21, so is he ready for Chelsea to put all our hopes to score the goals on him? Probably not.
No.
So, and I don't want, if he doesn't work out, Giroud to be the only option. So that's why Batshuayi needs to be there as well. Not saying that then definitely works, but it just, people that know me from YouTube, know me from Twitter, and have watched this for a couple of the couple of episodes that I've been on now. They know I'm not a big fan of Olivier Giroud. He has a strength, and he's very good.
That's the worst kept secret in the world. Yeah, I know you don't like Giroud, mate.
Yeah, he's very good at certain things, but he's not good. He's just not the first choice striker for a top club. Come on, he just should not be. Unless you play like France, he shouldn't be your first choice striker.
I get that, but I also understand what you mean with can he do it at Chelsea then if all the hopes were put on him at Swansea? But the point is, in theory, Chelsea should have lots of sources where you can get goals from, like Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic, blah 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 blah. While Swansea had nothing. That's why all the hopes were put on Tammy Abraham or Andrew Ayew. So that's what I meant in that regard. Yeah,
I agree. That's why I said earlier. So if we do actually want to take the season as a throwaway, fine. Not a throwaway, but then risk it with Tammy and just play with him, stick with him, and see what we get. Exactly. If not, we should probably just rotate more and see whoever is just the best form out of the three, I guess. But we do kind of have to wrap it up here because, run times and stuff, and we both have our things to do. Jimmy, you're meant to outro the stuff. So I'm just going to say, please outro it. Thank you for having me along, because you always provide such great stats that I have no idea about. And,
well, I think even though it was only the two today, us two today, I think it still worked. With all our lovely faces here. So as always, we don't really have to plug any guests this time. So, of course, please do follow us. Our Twitter handles will be in the description below. And do follow the Attacking 2 podcast. We've got lots of great guests coming on in the near future. If, there's no hiccups, then next week's guest should be quite the bomb. So looking very much forward to him. And as Laurenz said, or her, yes, gender equality. And do please give us a great rating on iTunes. That'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe to YouTube. We got great things up our sleeves for this channel and for this podcast. And do subscribe. We'd be very grateful for you to do that. And that's all from us this week. And you'll see us next one, probably with Lampard already being our coach. And there'll be lots of discussion points. And that is it for today. And as always, up the Chelsea and keep the blue flag flying high.